Here we go.
This is the Skip Bayless Show, brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Today, I'll tell you what I think really happened to Shedeur Sanders and why I still believe he will be great in the National Football League. And I'll tell you why LeBron James has again proven to be the most overprotected superstar in NBA history. Ain't even close. And why I'm still not ruling out the Lakers winning this series. And I'll tell you why the Cowboys, my Dallas Cowboys, had just an okay draft and why I fear they just fell a little further behind the Commanders and the Eagles and maybe even the Giants. And finally, I'll tell you why the Oklahoma City Thunder were unimpressively impressive while sweeping Memphis, why they did fuel the runaway belief that they're a regular season fraud, and why they are perfectly positioned to win the NBA championship this year. But first up, Shedeur. I have never seen anything in my almost 50 years of covering the National Football League like what the National Football League just did to Shedeur Sanders. Again, I first guessed all of this. I said before last college football season that Shedeur should go #1 overall, 1-2, or with Travis Hunter 2-1, depending on whether the team drafting first needed a quarterback. And obviously, Tennessee needs a quarterback. Tennessee made, I'm going to say it one last time, a monumental mistake taking Cam Ward over Shedeur Sanders. I'm dug in. I won't flinch on that one. Again, the great Mel Kiper, my guest last week on Skip One-on-One, ranked Shedeur Sanders 5th overall on his big board and Cam Ward 6th. But now to the guts of this story. I believe the turning point, the flashpoint, the point of no return for Shedeur Sanders came when his father, Deion, did an interview on Dan Patrick's show at the Media Center on Radio Row during Super Bowl week, last Super Bowl week in New Orleans. This happened on February the 7th. Dan Patrick asked Deion if there were NFL teams he didn't want his son to play for. And Deion answered, and I quote, "There's a lot of teams I preferred he didn't play for." That's like saying, aren't there teams you don't want to watch that you just hit the clicker on? You're right. He's talking to Dan. There's teams I didn't want to play for, so why would I want my kids? Come on, man. I'm a dad. I'm a real dad that has a lot of information about the NFL. I know some folks who know some folks who know some folks in the NFL. And I know what's behind the curtain. So definitely I'm going to lead them in the right direction, said Deion of both of his sons to Dan Patrick on February the 7th in New Orleans before the Super Bowl. Now, of course, when it came to Shedeur, that certainly suggested that Deion would orchestrate where his quarterback son was drafted, would engineer it the way Archie Manning once navigated his son from the Chargers to the Giants by forcing a trade. I'm sure you remember. And I, for one, had absolutely no problem with Deion saying that publicly because his son is that valuable. And my first thought when I heard these comments from Deion was, well, Deion definitely wouldn't want his son drafted by a sorry franchise like the Cleveland Browns, where quarterbacks go to die. Now, Deion did tell Dan Patrick there would be no public criticism of teams. Deion said, and I quote, "I would meet with them behind closed doors. I would not call them out, put them on Front Street, talk about their organization because people work too hard for a guy like me ignorantly saying something wrong. I would meet with them privately and talk about my concerns so we can have an understanding, said Deion to Dan Patrick before the Super Bowl on February 7th. Deion said he'd already met with some teams. He wouldn't say how many or which. So his message was already being sent behind closed doors to various teams. And you want to know what a whole lot of teams were saying behind closed doors? They were saying F Deion and F his son. How dare him compare himself and his situation with his son to the first family of football, to the beloved Mannings, to Father Archie, to sons Peyton and Eli. How dare him? F that. At that point, it had become clear that Deion was even representing his sons, both Shedeur and Shiloh, as their agent. And the NFL was already saying, F that, F you, Deion. We don't do business that way in this league. So look, I'm pretty sure a whole lot of old school coaches in college and pro football, I'm pretty sure they resent Deion's coaching approach. Do you remember what Oregon's Dan Lanning said? This is 2 years ago after the Ducks crushed Colorado. He made a pointed comment saying that his team focuses on winning, not on getting social media clicks. Other coaches despise that seemingly everything Colorado does behind the scenes is videotaped and it is posted for all to see, which just happens to be the way of the world now for just about every 18 to 22-year-old, and that's who plays for Colorado. That's what college football and basketball and all sports are all about right here, right now. So Dan Lanning's obviously a white coach, but 2 years ago, you might remember Jay Norvell, Colorado State's black head coach, also took a shot at Deion. Jay Norvell said that Jay Norvell, does interviews when he does behind closed doors, indoors. He takes off his hat and his sunglasses as his mother taught him to do. What? You, Jay Norvell, took that shot at Deion Sanders for wearing a hat and sunglasses for inside interviews? So I'm pretty sure old school coaches and NFL execs of all colors resent the way Deion runs his program in Boulder because, man, Deion is bolder and bolder. He even has a DJ to hype his team in the pregame locker room and the halftime locker room. And, of course, he had Lil Wayne lead his team out of the tunnel onto the field for kickoff, and Deion's sideline is just packed with star athletes and legendary retired stars and rappers and entertainers. Games are events, they're happenings, they're college football Coachellas. After all, Deion the player was Neon Deion, prime time. Always leading the league in brash and in arrogant. But here was the thing about Deion, the football player. He always backed it up. Deion Sanders was the greatest cornerback ever, greatest all-around athlete I ever saw. Deion Sanders, I covered him for the Dallas Cowboys. He worked hard. He played hard. He backed it the F up. But so many coaches and so many NFL executives were not great football players, even good football players. Some of them didn't even play high school football. And they are threatened and they are resentful. And they are even flat out jealous of Deion's athletic stature. Their attitude is, yeah, you could get away with being Neon Deion on the football field, but you can't play that game on the sideline as a head football coach, even though Colorado did sell out every game, and did become the hottest draw on national TV in this country. Yet I'm sure NFL execs and coaches seethe and they curse when they read or they hear that Deion will be the next great NFL coach. I'm sure that deep down they fear he will be, maybe even taking over their organization. So you can bet those NFL phone lines burned up after Deion made those comments to Dan Patrick back during Super Bowl week, February 7th. You can bet executives and head coaches and assistant coaches were calling their buddies and lots of other organizations saying, can you believe effing Deion Sanders says he's going to pull an Archie Manning? Now, look, I'm not saying this was official out-and-out collusion, secret memo collusion. No, this was just a whole lot of NFL people talking to a whole lot of other NFL people saying F Deion and F his son. No doubt a whole lot of them were thinking, we'll show Deion orchestrating. And a whole lot of NFL people began trying to nitpick Shedeur to smithereens, even fabricating a whole lot of phantom criticisms. Then came the combine. Then came Josina Anderson reporting that a quarterback coach for a team drafting in the top 7 found Shedeur to be undraftably brash and arrogant in his interview with that coach's staff at the combine. What? Yeah, Shedeur he's confident. Don't you want your face of the franchise quarterback to be confident? But he's also a really good kid who was raised the right way, who plays the right way, who's as physically tough a college quarterback as I've ever closely observed, who is deadly accurate and deadly late game clutch. What? Yeah, I got it. Shedeur, he made $3 million last year in Boulder, and so he did own 3 exotic cars, and he does occasionally drape himself in jewelry like a lot of kids do. But you don't think he can handle his money? He's had money his whole life. I would think that would be seen as a plus. If he gets some money in the NFL, I think he'll be just fine with it, don't you? So then Deion Sanders told me on my Skip One-on-One show that he did call the head coach of that team whose quarterback coach blasted Shedeur, and that the head coach told Deion, according to Deion, that Shedeur did not come across as brash and arrogant in their interview with him at the combine. But the damage was done. The demon seeds were planted. The phone lines were burning, just burning and burning and burning up around the league. I just hear it now. Shakes me to my bones. See, the kid's uncoachable. Like father, like son. Deion spoiled him rotten. No way you want this kid as the face of your franchise. Blah, 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 blah. The NFL that I've known for almost 50 years operates on sheep think. I've said this many times. So many people I've gotten to know very well, who ran or now still run drafts for teams, are just not very smart. They're all Peter Principle products, not very perceptive. They're prone to hearing a little dirt and taking it right to heart. So many idiots running drafts out there, they just think like sheep. They run scared. They actually read and value all the mock drafts by people who know less than they know because they don't know. Shedeur was such an easy target because of the jealousy and the fear of his father. Who wanted to draft Shedeur, risk Deion eventually taking over the franchise, bringing in his own people, smarter than you and you and you and you? So every single NFL team convinced itself that drafting Shedeur was a bad idea. I even heard, quote unquote, he isn't the athlete his father is. What? Who is? But if you watch the way I watch Shedeur, you know Shedeur is no pocket statue that he can move. That he's as accurate rolling right or left as he is with his feet set in the pocket. That he ran for lots of big first downs on call quarterback draws and running the read option to the edge. You'd know if you just watch the tape, this kid is a baller who plays bigger than his 6'1.5" and 212 pounds. What is not to love about Shedeur Sanders? Deion Sanders raised this young man to be a star NFL quarterback in a pro-style offense from the start. Surrounded him with greatness. His father isn't a detriment. He's a huge advantage. Shedeur has greatness flowing through his veins. What am I missing here? I had no idea, no earthly idea that starting Thursday night and then all through Friday night, the NFL was dead set on teaching Deion a lesson. Tennessee never even considered Shedeur. How did they get away with that? Neither did Cleveland, which passed on them the first 6 times it had a chance to draft Shedeur Sanders. And Cleveland took Dillon Gabriel 50 slots ahead of Shedeur. Dillon Gabriel. I watched every snap Dillon Gabriel took at Oklahoma. It's my team. Dillon's pretty good. Nice arm, smart, tough, surprisingly mobile. A little better, I think, than Tua. It's another sort of short, stocky lefty from Hawaii. But trust me, Dillon Gabriel isn't in Shedeur's galaxy as an NFL quarterback. 50 slots he went to Cleveland ahead of Shedeur. The Giants, of course, passed on Shedeur at 3, then traded back into the first round to take Jackson Dart. The Giants might as well have been drafting by throwing a dart. I hate to say this, but even Tom Brady's team passed on Shedeur at 6. Reportedly, Brady was involved in the Raiders' draft decisions. Obviously, Pete Carroll, their new head coach, wanted his guy from Seattle, Geno Smith, so they acquired Geno. I get that, but Brady did mentor and did help coach Shedeur beginning in high school. I don't know, maybe GOAT Brady will prove to be just as bad at judging talent as GOAT Jordan was as GM in Charlotte. And I do remind you that John Elway, pretty great quarterback, could pick his nose better than he picked quarterbacks as Broncos GM. And as my man Mel Kiper said on ESPN, the NFL has always been clueless about picking quarterbacks. It has. See the greatest quarterback ever, Brady, going in the 6th round. See the 1A greatest, Joe Montana, going in the 3rd round. See 2-time MVP Lamar Jackson lasting to the final pick of the 1st round, as well as Dan Marino, probably the greatest thrower of the football ever, going 27th overall. But this was different. This was personal. This was shameful. This was a black eye for the NFL, which basically blackballed Shedeur Sanders. And for 2 long nights, I sat on the edge of my seat waiting for the announcement that never came. I waited and I waited. No. I waited 3 rounds, no Shedeur. No way. No way. But late Friday night, I saw a quote from my man, Jerry Jones. Quote was raving about Shedeur's football character. Jerry does know Shedeur, and he definitely knows Deion, and I do think he has high regard for both. And I thought, maybe this story will have a happy ending. Several NFL sources texted me Saturday morning saying the same thing, something like, now that this has become the biggest story in sports, Jerry's the one owner who will consider all the publicity a plus instead of a distracting minus. He'll take Shedeur. You know what I thought? My Cowboys will luck into taking Shedeur. He'll fall right into their laps. He'll sit behind Dak for 2 years. Then he'll go win us a Super Bowl. It is meant to be. It is written in the stars. The kid who grew up in Dallas will finally lead the Cowboys back to the promised land. This was a heaven-sent scenario. The Cowboys had 2 picks in the 5th round, 2 in the 6th, 3 in the 7th. So Jerry was already dancing over his picks in the first 3 rounds. Certainly could justify finally using the first 5th round pick on Shedeur, who in round 5 wouldn't command much money. So it wouldn't threaten the cap. You already got the players that you wanted in the first 3 rounds. You had all those multiple picks thereafter. But here was the one problem. The Cowboys did not have a 4th round pick. That pick had been used at last season's trade deadline, acquiring Jonathan Mingo from Carolina. Jonathan Mingo in 8 games for the Cowboys down the stretch last year. Mingo caught 5 total passes. A wasted 4th round pick. And so as Saturday began, it was 9 a.m. out here in Los Angeles, noon Eastern, I had to sweat through the entire 4th round, waiting for the Cowboys' next pick, which didn't come until 149th in the 5th round. I hate to say this, but Jonathan Mingo cost me Shedeur Sanders. I believe that with all my heart and soul, and will go to my grave believing that. Jonathan Mingo, bingo. Unfortunately, there is one other owner in the National Football League who can act just as kooky as Jerry can, who's liable to do just about anything at any moment, who's so filthy rich he doesn't really care what anyone else thinks of him. He was the owner who told his draft staff to trade up 4 spots and take a falling Johnny Manziel. The Browns went from 26th to 22nd to take Johnny Manziel. And this man was the owner who plunged on Deshaun Watson, who was basically bidding against himself. It was flat out kooky, who despite Deshaun's awful off-field issues, gave the Texans 3 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson and gave Deshaun Watson a guaranteed $230 million. That owner, that guy in Cleveland, that guy Jimmy Haslam, suddenly decided, what the hell? If nobody else will take Shedeur, I'll take him. This wasn't about his GM or his head coach, who had already taken Dylan Gabriel over Shedeur and had already passed on Shedeur 6 times. 6. No, this was about Jimmy Haslam, desperate for a star quarterback, about Haslam, who had been to dinner with Shedeur and Deion before the draft, who did like the hell out of both of them. I have no doubt Haslam saw Jerry coming at 144. And if he didn't see it, then Howie Roseman did see it. Howie Roseman is the best GM in all of sports. I say it again and again and again. Howie Roseman is the one GM who is not a clueless fool. Unfortunately for me, Howie Roseman is the brains behind the Philadelphia Eagles, who happen to occupy the same division as my Dallas Cowboys. Howie knows Shedeur will be very, very good. Howie knows Deion would be the perfect fit as head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Howie did not want Shedeur and or Deion in Dallas in the NFC East. So Howie traded pick 144 to Cleveland, 5 picks ahead of Jerry's next pick. Ka-boom. Howie Roseman got us again, and my fairy tale turned right into a nightmare. Cleveland was the worst place Shedeur could go, the single worst place. The executives in Cleveland, the coaching staff in Cleveland obviously did not want Shedeur. So now ahead of Shedeur on the depth chart are Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel, and I guess Deshaun Watson, who did tear his Achilles, but still on the roster. So Shedeur is now in a cold weather city in a division featuring the NFL's 2 best quarterbacks, in my opinion, Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. And these Browns were all-time dumb enough, sitting in the number 2 overall pick, to trade Travis Hunter to Jacksonville? What? At least Shedeur could have been reunited with his college teammate and soulmate, Travis. Nope. These fools traded Travis Hunter, who will become the greatest two-way player in NFL history. They traded him to Jacksonville. I don't care what they got back. It's not enough. And I'm sure coaches and execs around pro and college football are laughing their asses off. Deion orchestrated Shedeur all the way to Cleveland in the 5th round. Ha, 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 ha. I can hear them now. They're just echoing in my psyche. It just makes me sick. And remember, Shiloh didn't get drafted either. I thought he might go in the 6th or 7th round as a safety. And Shiloh, while chuckling, said the other day that, well, he finally had to fire his dad as his agent. And he did sign with Drew Rosenhaus, who did help him sign as an undrafted free agent with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Blackballed. So now I must cling to what Deion did say a few days back. Deion said, when something becomes inexplicably ludicrous, you just have to believe it's a God thing, that God is about to work in a very mysterious way. I loved it that Shedeur and his brother danced and celebrated when Shedeur was taken by the Browns. Shedeur danced and celebrated. I loved that. And I loved it that he took the very highest road in that group interview that he did with the Browns media. He refused to comment on anything but how excited he is to go to work in Cleveland. Shedeur said that, and I quote, all that negativity doesn't matter now. No. Now its only use is to fuel the rest of Shedeur Sanders' pro career. Now, every game Shedeur plays will be against teams that passed on him multiple times. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe the Browns will be dumb enough to trade Shedeur to a team desperate for a quarterback late in camp, or maybe at next season's trade deadline. I don't know. All I know for sure is this. If some team ever does give Shedeur Sanders an opportunity, maybe that'll be the Cleveland Browns. But if any team ever does, he will shame the entire NFL just as it shamed him and shamed itself. And now it's time for my FanDuel parlay picks. Remember, FanDuel is giving all new customers a shot at $250 in bonus bets, $250. Just join FanDuel today, right now. You'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So from three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay. A same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Just visit FanDuel.com/skip to get in on all the NBA playoff action. That's FanDuel.com/skip for your shot at $250 in bonus bets. Now, I'll go with a three-way parlay for Tuesday night's Clippers at Nuggets Game 5. You know, Big Zoo does a pretty good job neutralizing Joker's scoring, so I'll say Joker under 28.5 points, though I won't be surprised if Joker has 20 rebounds and 20 assists. So that means I'll go with Jamal Murray scoring more than 20.5 points. And I'll finish it off, because he's been on fire, on a roll. I'll finish it off betting Kawhi scores more than 25.5 points. That's FanDuel.com/skip for your shot at $250 in bonus bets. Okay, all you blind witnesses out there, please tell me I'm wrong about this. You can't. I've been saying from the start that as obviously gifted as LeBron Raymond James Sr. is, God gave him everything but a clutch gene. That is what sets him apart from and well below Michael Jeffrey Jordan, who was laughably better than LeBron is. What sets them apart is late game playoff clutchness. I keep pointing out LeBron's playoff failures, epic failures, yet all I hear is that I'm nitpicking, I'm exaggerating, I'm embellishing, unfairly piling on. No, I am not. I'm saying exactly what I see when I see it. But blind witnesses see none of this, see no evil, which is why LeBron James proves again and again and again to be the most overprotected superstar in sports history. Was I the only one who watched Friday night's Game 3 at Minnesota? Now, yes, I give you this. LeBron caught fire from 3. That's mid-fourth quarter before the pressure set in. We've seen him do this many times before. And then what happened? Luka had a stomach bug, reportedly. I'll give him that. Luka hit the wall after he hit the 3 that tied it with 4:37 remaining in the game. Now it was LeBron's turn to sustain his hot streak. Now LeBron needed to take over and close. Now it was time for LeBron bleeping James, who had scored 38 points to this point on 13 of 20 shots and 5 of 8 from 3. LeBron James, who's having the greatest age 40 season ever, ain't even close. It was time for him to slam the door on the T-Wolves in Minneapolis. Not making any of this up, not exaggerating. Over the final 4:37 of the game, with Luka on nauseous fumes. LeBron James scored all of 0 points. He took one measly shot, an ugly three that hit the side of the backboard. The Timberwolves closed on a 13-1 run. 13-1. King, how could you allow that? Anybody see that but me? Then Sunday, again at Minnesota, game 4. LeBron had scored 27 points through 3 quarters. That's pretty great. He'd made 15 of 18 free throws. That's really great. Lakers led by 10 going to the 4th quarter. LeBron played all 12 minutes of the 4th. To me, he never looked tired, but he did start to look tight. He did start to hot potato the ball around the perimeter like, not me, not me, not me. LeBron in the 4th quarter never got back to the free throw line, not once. With the Lakers up 2, he did drive it. This was 4:02 left in the game, up 2. He had a pretty open left-handed layup. And remember, he was born left-handed. That's his dominant hand. And he shot that layup just a touch too hard, and it rolled off the front of the rim. That would have put the Lakers up 4 with 4 minutes left. Then with 54 seconds left, we're under a minute now. Lakers up 2, under a minute. LeBron launched another 3. He was 5 of 7 from 3 at that point. He launched another 3 that would have put the Lakers up 5. Whew. Nope. LeBrick. Then with 30.3 seconds left, Lakers down 1. JJ Redick had LeBron inbound the ball at half court. Remember, there's only about a second left on the 8 count to get it across half court, so LeBron tried to inbound into the front court. There was some traffic, but it was a bad pass. It was easily stolen by Jaden McDaniels, which led to LeBron's foul on Ant-Man and to Ant-Man's 2 free throws. And the Lakers were in trouble. LeBron James did not score a single point in 12 fourth quarter minutes in Sunday's game 4. He did have a killer turnover with 30 seconds left. And the Lakers blew a 10-point lead and fell behind 3-1 as LeBron James, over the last 16 minutes and 37 seconds of fourth quarters in games 3 and 4, scored 0 points. That was back-to-back choke jobs by the man born without a clutch gene. I am not making any of this up. But is anybody but me doing anything but making excuses for LeBron James? I doubt it. 2 years ago, remember this, against eventual champion Denver, conference finals. Lakers were in position to win all 4 games as the fourth quarters began. And in those combined 4 fourth quarters, LeBron James shot 7 of 23, 1 of 10 from 3, and he badly missed 2 shots to tie in the closing seconds of the closeout game 4 in Los Angeles. Choke, 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 quadruple choke. Then in last year's first playoff game at Denver, LeBron pouted and wouldn't shoot in the fourth quarter of a close game, a winnable game. Just pathetic. Then in game 2, LeBron wound up with a wide open 3 to win it, closing seconds, and of course, he missed it. No clutch gene. Tell me I'm wrong. You can't. But look, I still think the Lakers are a little better than the T-Wolves, especially if J.J. Redick would finally play Jackson Hayes more than 4 minutes that he did in Game 4 and finally let Dalton Knecht come in off the bench, give him a little pop, somebody a little rest. I still think the Lakers will win Wednesday night back here in L.A., and I wouldn't be at all surprised if, with the pressure descending Friday night in Minnesota, the Lakers managed to win Game 6, which would mean Game 7 back out here in Hollywood. You sure couldn't depend on LeBron down the stretch of a Game 7, even out here in Hollywood. But hey, if Austin Reeves or Luka could just close Lakers in 7? I did not hate the Dallas Cowboys draft. It was okay. It was fine, which is my least favorite word. The problem was the Giants and the Eagles and the Commanders all drafted a little better than we did. My man Mel Kiper graded all 3 of those drafts a little better than ours. And I, unfortunately, agree with Mel. I want to say it again. I have loved my Dallas Cowboys with all my heart and soul since I was 10 years old, but I like to think I'm the oxymoronic, objective Cowboy fan. I'm not a cockeyed optimist. I'm a cockeyed realist, which is also oxymoronic. But I do keep warning you, Cowboy Nation. Jerry Jones keeps fiddling around while his Rome burns. Jerry used to be able to yawn at free agency because he kept acing the draft until 2 years ago when he took Mozzie Smith in the first round, until last year when he took Tyler Guyton in the first round. So this year, I first guessed Jerry's first pick, and he does have final say on at least the first 3 picks. I went on the record on this show 4 days before Thursday night's draft, and I said this: if Tyler Warren falls to Dallas at 12, which he shockingly did, a la CD Lamb in his draft, Jerry has to take Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren is a difference maker and a life changer of a tight end who can also carry the football. He's a he-man's man, a dominator, a big bad bully of a weapon. Tyler Warren can lift an entire locker room. Mel Kiper had Tyler Warren ranked 7th overall on his big board, had him going to the Jets at 7. We picked 12th. And Tyler Warren went 14th to Indianapolis, where he will change life. Just watch. So at 12, we took Mel's 28th ranked player, Tyler Booker. And by the way, he was the 48th ranked player by Pro Football Focus. So book it. We took the wrong Tyler. I like Tyler Booker. I love Tyler Warren. Lil Wayne texted me from Green Bay, where he attended the draft, that he was hanging with Packers coach Matt LaFleur on Thursday afternoon, and that LaFleur was just raving about Tyler Warren, who he said obviously would be long gone when Green Bay drafted 23. But this became the irony. Most mock drafts had the Cowboys taking Matthew Golden at 12. He fell all the way to Green Bay at 23, and Matt LaFleur was ecstatic. So was Lil Wayne. Green and Golden. I don't know. I guess we in Dallas were sitting on Tet McMillan at 12, but he fortunately went way too high to Carolina at 8. I did not love Tet's quickness or his speed. He was able to dominate far more in college football than he'll be able to in pro football. That's just me. So happy that Carolina took him at 8. But then we scrambled, maybe a little desperate. We drafted strictly for need. We took the next Zach Martin. Zach, of course, just retired. He'll be a cinch first ballot Hall of Famer. And again, this was our obvious need pick at left guard. Only Tyler Booker will not be Zach Martin. Trust me, he will not be. He's a great guy, extreme intangibles. Lil Wayne texted me that he was extremely impressed with Booker's interview moments after he was picked. Wayne said it was beautiful, and I hugely agree. It was beautiful, and it was inspirational. It was hopeful. But from what I know of Tyler Booker, he's just an average athlete. He's powerful, but with very limited feet, limited movement. No, Zach Martin. Much higher on intangibles than tangibles, which scares me. How can I get really geeked about this? About Tyler Booker instead of Tyler Warren? And by the way, Mel Kiper's favorite offensive guard in the entire draft was a kid out of Purdue named Marcus Imbo, who the Giants stole in the 5th round, 5 picks after I'd hoped Dallas would get Shedeur. That was one big reason Kiper gave the Giants draft an A-. Abdul Carter out of Penn State is the next Micah Parsons. I don't know, he could be even better than Micah because he's a little edgier, a little nastier. They did get the quarterback they wanted in Jackson Dart. He's not bad. He's just not Shedeur. But then they stole Cam Skattebo. They got Cam Skattebo and Imbo. They got them both. Skattebo is another beast who just wills himself through defenses. I love this kid who's like a man among boys he was in college football. I sure wish we had him. But we did snatch Donovan Ezeruwaka in the 2nd round. Donovan Electric, I called him. Donovan E. Always jumped off my screen when I watched Boston College. Not the biggest, not the strongest. He just has a sack knack. He just figures a way to get to the quarterback, not overpowering, shifty, elusive, just gets to the quarterback, sack knack. Way to go, Jerry. He'll be at least as productive as Micah has been. At least as. Love it. Then in the 3rd round, boom. We got Siobhan Revel Jr., a revelation. A cinch 1st round pick, maybe top half of the 1st round until he tore his ACL in practice last October at East Carolina. So obviously we'll have to trust he'll bounce back 100% from ACL reconstruction. Sometimes you can come back even stronger and quicker from that surgery, but obviously a lot of teams don't think he will. But as we got our live look into the Cowboys war room, we actually saw Jerry do a little dance after he'd made that pick, that 3rd round pick. Dance, Jerry, dance. Then, after the epic Shedeur failure, at 149, we took Texas running back Jaden Blue. Yep, he can fly, 4.38. But he's as much a 3rd down receiver as a running back. And he, trust me, I watched him a lot. He will drop some passes. He will fumble. And no, he's not much for running it up the gut. Just not big and strong enough. Packs no wallop. He's a luxury back. Okay. Then with our 2nd pick in the 7th round, we took the Clemson kid, Phil Maffa, who's the opposite of Jaden Blue. He's nothing but a big banger. So remember I second-guessed this. Why didn't the Cowboys take Damian Martinez out of the U with their first pick in the 7th round. Damian Martinez, every time I watch Cam Ward, he caught my eye, Damian Martinez. Kuiper loved him. So did the great Lance Zierlein on NFL.com. Why didn't we take him, Jerry? We still don't have the running back, and we still don't have the number 2 receiver. That is scary, Jerry. I mean, what are we going to do? Go get Amari Cooper again after we dumped him? He's what? He's going to play at 31, 10 years in. I don't know. We're in trouble. And that's also because Mel Kiper loved Howie Roseman's first 2 picks, called Jihad Campbell and Andrew Mukaba instant impact players. One at pass rushing linebacker out of Alabama, the other at safety in place of C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Mukaba's out of Texas, and he will smack you. Kiper also loved the Commanders' first 2 picks, predicted both will start as rookies, Josh Connerly Jr. at right tackle and Trey Amos at corner in place of Marshawn Lattimore, who was a swing and miss for the Commanders last year. Which brings me to the rest of the Cowboys draft. It's just a bunch of backups and special teamers at best. No wows, no diamonds in the rough that I can see. Kiper gave the Cowboys draft a B. I went B- because I just can't get that excited about Tyler Booker. But Kiper gave the Giants an A-, and both the Eagles and Commanders B+. All 3 of those drafts were just a little better than ours was. And the draft is supposed to be our lifeblood. Man, I just don't know. I'm just hoping we don't finish 4th in the division next season. And for those who don't know, there are only 4 teams in the division. I'm sure all the doubters and the skeptics out there, the Draymonds and the Paul Pierces, were laughing at how my Oklahoma City Thunder got exposed in the 2 games at Memphis. In Game 3, we trailed by 29 points. Then Ja bruised his tailbone on a dangerous fall. He puts himself in a lot of dangerous positions way up there near the arena ceiling. And Ja was gone. Hope he's going to be okay. Of course, the naysayers were saying if Ja hadn't gotten hurt, Memphis would have won by 60. But we came from 29 down. 29 down were the Oklahoma City Thunder. 29 down, and we won by 6. Not that easy to do even without Ja. But then without Ja in Game 4, we hung on to win by 2, 117 to 115. Ha, 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 ha. The big bad Thunder let Memphis score 115 on their number 1 ranked defense, said all the haters and the naysayers, the doubters and the skeptics. Yeah. Well, I'll be laughing all the way to the bank when my Oklahoma City Thunder win the NBA championship. Don't know if you remember games 1 and 2 of that series. Oklahoma City beat Memphis by a combined 70 points with Ja on the floor, with him fully healthy. That came within 5 points of the combined record victory margin for the first 2 games of any playoff series ever. That was set by Magic Johnson's Showtime Lakers in 1986 against the then 35-47 San Antonio Spurs. 35-47. We won by a combined 70 over 48-34 Memphis. That was a 2 seed for the entire first half of this NBA season. That's advantage us. Now, I give you this. SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he did slump from three during this series. 7 of 28, that's 25%. Yet we still swept the Grizzlies. I'll give you this. Our team as a whole slumped from three, only 31% in the 4 games after finishing 6th in the NBA during the regular season and 1st in the NBA last year. Yet we still swept the Grizzlies. Let me ask something. Do you really think SGA will shoot 25% from three in the next round? You think the Thunder will shoot 31% from three against the Clippers or the Nuggets? Well, please keep thinking that. Please keep laughing. Against Memphis, Chet Holmgren averaged 19 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 blocks a game for the 4 games. He shot 42% from three and kept coming up clutch late. Is it possible Chet Holmgren, unlike LeBron James, was born with the clutch gene? That's it for today's episode. Thanks to Tyler Korn for producing, to Ernestine for overseeing, and of course to Hazel for approving.